Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Friday, March the 8th. Race number 9 at Oaklawn Park. We're going a two-turn mile with the short stretch. It's a second-level allowance with a $62,500 claiming option for older fillies and mares. Let's take a peek at this field. Free Like a Girl is the number 1. She's a millionaire. She's won 15 of 35, Mike, and she invades from Delta Downs, where she just missed at odds on.
Yeah, not a great loss for this horse last time, Dan. I guess we can talk about that a little bit more. Her effort 2 starts back, though, against better horses than these makes her real tough in here.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector for this race. Free Like a Girl has a good amount of early speed, as does the number 10, Backyard Money, a stretch-out sprinter with stake sprint speed. That one has to be aggressively ridden from the outside post, you would think.
I thought there was plenty of speed in this race, not just the 1, the 10. I thought other horses could maybe be a part of this too, Dan. There's a bunch of horses stretching out in this race.
Not only is the number 1 Free Like a Girl a multiple stakes winner, she's also multiple graded stakes placed. Here's her most recent start. This was against fellow Louisiana breds at Delta Downs, and we turn into the short stretch at Delta, and she's 1-20. She has a gigantic lead, and she's going to get nailed. She did have to work very hard in the early stages of this race, however.
I don't think you want to be given, too many excuses to a horse that loses at 1-20, Dan. This was a stupid ride by whoever this guy is. I don't know why he was playing games with this horse early on. He should have just taken over and went to the lead and tried to win it that way. Instead, he just took a hold and sat 4 wide around the track. And I think it cost him at the end. Again, I don't, want to give her too many excuses for that one, but the race 2 back, she ran really well in there. And if she runs that race here, she's going to be hard to beat.
Now, the third place finisher from that last race is a useful Louisiana bred, something like 14, 15 wins in the bag for her. She would come back, run second in allowance at Will Rogers Downs with a 77 buyer. Lover Girl is the number 2. Lover Girl has not run well in her last 2 starts. Maybe the wet track just had something to do with it. They tried to stretch her out last time out. That was a mile and a 16th event. She didn't run well. I think getting back to fast ground is going to help, but I think she has a lot of class questions to answer.
Yeah, I don't even know if I care if this race is run over a fast track. Then obviously a wet track would be concerning, but even if it's on fast dirt, she still hasn't run a race that's going to be good enough to beat this field. And she's a real question mark over this kind of a distance.
Windy Bay, the number 3, is a little bit interesting, Mike. She returned off of a short layoff to win a 2-turn race at Oaklawn, a first-level allowance on fast going, and she showed a little bit of a new tool in the box that day. She was able to sit off the pace and rally, whereas in the past she'd been more of a one-dimensional speed. Maybe she didn't care for the wet track last time out when put back on the pace.
Yeah, maybe. That you're right. The running style that she showed 2 back could go a long way in here, especially if this pace is fast, as the pace projector suggests. The real issue that I had with her, Dan, is even though it was nice to see her rate a little bit that day, she got a perfect trip in there, and where she defeated the morning line favorite for this race, and that horse just had a terrible trip in that race.
Margot in a Bubble Bath is the number 4. She's another horse that could be part of this pace picture. She's stretching back out to a mile. Now, her connections have really been reluctant to stretch her out. She has sprinted for most of her career, so she's going to have to do this, stretching out off of a short layoff. She was wired last time out against a good field of stakes horses. The third place horse came back to place in an allowance with a 75 buyer.
Yeah, I respect that she doesn't seem like she needs the lead to be effective, Dan. And I also respect that she paired up buyer tops off the claim in the first 2 starts for this trainer. I think those are good signs. The 80 buyer speed figures 2 and 3 back, they give her some kind of chance in this race. We'll see how far she wants to go.
Beau Draw is the number 5, and she is hoping for a fast pace up front, much as she received in her most recent start, a first-level allowance over course and distance. We'll take a look at Beau Draw's most recent race, and this race just went to closers. It was a very fast pace. Beau Draw is going to get the jump on these horses turning into the stretch and hold off the deep closer on the line.
Yeah, good performance here, though. I like this effort from her. The trip really did work out, though. And she's another one of those horses that just, it kind of feels like she's attained this level that might not be quite good enough for this kind of a race. I thought she ran really well in that start we're watching, though, Dan.
Jabella is the number 6, and she just exploded last time out to the tune of an 88 buyer speed figure. Maybe it was the muddy track. Maybe she's just returning to her best form because this was her second start off of a lengthy layoff. Jubella went to the front in this race, controlled the pace, but in the final 1/8 of a mile, you have to be impressed with the way she just sprints away from her competition.
This is a really good performance. It is an easy trip for her, and it's on a wet track, but it's just a good move forward for a horse that we already sort of talked about the race 2 back off the layoff, Dan, where she just did not get a good trip. And it kind of felt like, she was going to really give it up there, and she didn't. She hung in, really gave me through the stretch. I like the form that she's in. This is a good spot for her. If she repeats the 88 buyer, she's tough in here.
Number 7, Joke Cece, has yet to score since being imported from her native Chile, but this is going to be her first start going a mile since she won a Group 2 there back in 2022. What bothers me is just the plethora of layoff lines. It seems they run her once or twice, and then she's got to go to the bench again. She's running in this race off a vet scratch at the Fairgrounds back on December the 2nd. It's taken her about 3 months to get into the entries.
Yeah, I don't like any of that stuff either, but they've moved her around a bit since they've gotten her over here, and she's pretty much shown up every single time. No wins, but there was no bad performances on her card either. It feels like she probably fits pretty well in here, Dan. I just want to wait and see what kind of price she is. The 7-2 morning line doesn't interest me, but maybe you'll do better than that.
Stellar Lily, the number 8, returned from a spring layoff as a completely different horse. 2 recent wins coming into this race, including a blowout effort. The race will show you right now. A first level allowance going a mile at Oaklawn Park, where she controlled things up front and devastated them in the lane. Now, unlike Jubella, a horse that won in similar style, Jubella is a horse that can sit from off the pace if necessary. I wonder if Stellar Lily's a need the lead type, and that could work against her with other speeds entered.
Yeah, agreed. That's what I didn't like about her, Dan. All 3 of her wins are when she was able to make the lead early, including that sprint 2 starts back. The distance seems like it's no issue for her. That's her second career win around 2 turns, but I just wonder if she can get the trip that she needs against this field.
I wonder if this is the right spot now for the 9, Into Disco, a horse that showed a little bit of ability at Oaklawn Park in early 2023, went on a lengthy layoff and then returned last time out in a race where she had to go a mile and a 16th over a muddy track. She prompted, she tired against a runaway. I think she gained a lot of fitness from that effort. I'm expecting more second off the layoff with more pace to attack.
I think that's a fair way to look at her, especially at the 10-1 morning line. Then she's also still really lightly raced. I mean, I know she's 5 years old, but she's very lightly raced. So maybe there's a forward move coming. The only real knock that I had against her is that when she beat Jubella here last April, to me, Jubella ran way better than this horse did.
Backyard Money completes the field for Mr. Lucas. This midshipman mare is going to stretch out around 2 turns for the first time in her career off this effort. A stakes placing in the carousel. She was a very big price in here. She showed good early speed. She sparred, and she was able to run second. It was a really improved performance for Backyard Money. The question is the distance and the race flow. Can she get loose? And if she does, can she relax and stay the trip? They're questionable, to be sure.
Yeah, especially when she has to break from post 10, where it feels like they're probably going to have to use her a little bit if they want to get her forward. There's enough working against her to make this a pretty tall order for her, Dan. But, if she can stretch out effectively, I don't feel like she's overmatched by these horses. And I think you have to respect all of Lucas's horses when they run at this track. His horses really run here.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for our Friday race of the day at Oaklawn Park. We're both going to go with Jubella, who looked good over a wet track last time out. I think she just come back a more mature individual. When this trainer gets them good, they stay good for a while.
Yeah, agreed. I thought she ran pretty well at the layoff 2 back, obviously did, and then she took a big step forward last time. And I just respect the fact that she doesn't need the lead to be effective.
You're going to go 6, 1, 8, and 9. I'm curious to see how Margot in a bubble bath does stretching out, because she's another one. Doesn't necessarily need the lead. If she stays the mile, maybe she can get a piece of this at a price. I'll go 6, 4, 9, 8. It's our Friday DRF race of the day. It's the 9th at Oaklawn Park. Best of luck.